Okay, one area that I forgot to discuss as we move down the rifle is the front sight. On this 9130, as you can see, there's a globe over the front sight post. So generally, the condition of these is pretty decent, just because you do have that globe protecting the front sight. You want to make sure that the actual assembly itself is firmly attached. It's not loose, breaking off, cracked, ding, dent. You want to make sure that the front sight post is not straight, or is straight, not crooked, bent, anything like that. The K31 has ears over the top that protect the front sight post, but as you can see, this one's in immaculate shape. Same thing on the Yugo. Since this Yugo is excellent condition, you're not really going to run into any problems, but it's just one thing to look for. Make sure that all the hardware is there, make sure nothing's cracked, broken, like I said. Make sure the front sight post isn't bent or marred up on it. Okay, so you've checked the stock for any warping, dings, dents. You want to look at the sights. You want to make sure they adjust properly. That there's no, sticking, anything like that, that they don't act funny. Anyway, see, this fair condition 9130, the sights work fine. They adjust just fine. There's going to be these little leaflets here that you have to depress to move it. Make sure they got the springiness to them that they need. Make sure they return to, make sure they click in place like they're supposed to. And that's just one area to check, is the sights. See, all these military surplus rifles have tangent sights. So they're usually adjustable. So you want to check on that. And moving down the rifle, check the receivers for wear, bluing loss, anything like that. Just overall condition. That's what you're checking for. And just allow that to factor in to your decision, as to the overall quality. This fair condition 9130 actually has fairly decent bluing on the receiver, but you're looking for bluing that is in the white, like that. See how it's rusting? If a military surplus rifle has a receiver that's in the white that looks like that, then you need to limit your amount you're willing to pay for it. So always check all the other hardware on the rifle. Here's another perfect example of the correlation between fair, good to very good, and then excellent to unissued. The fair rifle has, again, a ton of stock wear, stock repairs. The K31 has a pretty good bit of wear on it. The Yugo, practically brand new condition. You want to check the butt plates. Check them for rust, force matching, any kind of factor that you could discover that would, in your mind, make the rifle worth less money. If it's all rusty and nasty, then that might give you an indication of how the rifle was stored. If Joe Blow didn't keep his rifle clean, didn't keep it safe, he might have thrown it in a closet somewhere and let it rust up. Or Joe Blow could have dug it out of an old farmhouse or something, and the butt plate of that rifle might have been sitting down in some damp conditions for years. So the cleaner the butt plate is, that should give you a pretty dang good idea how well the rifle was kept. And again, on the unissued, that butt plate has never seen the first amount of earth in terms of storage. So this ought to give you a pretty dang good idea of how to shop for a military surplus rifle. I will make a separate video on how to initially clean up your investment and check it for safety and all that. But this is just kind of a primer, give you an idea of what to look for, so hopefully you might be just a little bit better informed than you were before you watched this. I discussed some of the cosmetic sort of features you want to look for on a military surplus rifle, but you've also got the sort of thing you need to do in terms of functions testing. You want to make sure everything on the rifle works. And again, you want to consult the shop owner, individual, whoever, to make sure they don't mind. That's just a courteous, professional thing to do. And you need to just say, hey, do you mind if I test the function of this weapon to make sure it functions good? And of course, they're going to say, sure, go ahead. So, in this case, most bolt-action rifles, make sure it locks up in the battery nice and tight. You know, if you can lock it into battery and it wiggles, you might want to look elsewhere. Okay. Check the safety. Of course, make sure it's unloaded as always. Check the safety. In this case, on a Mauser safety, all the way over it shouldn't open. All the way up it should open, but the trigger should not, you know, allow the action to be caught. And then off, of course, the rifle should dry fire. If you plan on dry firing the rifle, make sure you consult the owner of the rifle first. That's just the courteous thing to do again. So make sure it dry fires. You know, if they have a squib or a dummy cartridge laying around, action-proofing cartridge, you might want to request that. Again, ask them if you can do it, but take the bolt out. On any of these military surplus rifle bolts, you want to check for any kind of cracks, any kind of structural integrity that may be compromised on them. Again, as you buy more of these, you're going to get sort of a trained eye on what to look for. Make sure the floor plate has plenty of strength to it in terms of the springiness of it. Make sure, you know, all stages of the trigger function as they should. See, on most military surplus rifles, you're going to have a first stage, and then it's going to kind of stiffen up, and you're going to have a second stage. So make sure that it's got a bit of return there, like that. So, I mean, this is one example. This is one surplus rifle, but you always want to check the bolts for cracks, any kind of structural integrity. Check the receiver for any kind of cracks or burrs or marks, anything that would be an alarm to the structural integrity of the rifle. You should check the bore, make sure the bore looks good on it. It should be bright and shiny with strong, noticeable lands and grooves. You want to check the throat wear. The throat is the area that's just ahead of the chamber and before the rifling starts. It's like the lead where that bullet makes that jump. That's where where the gun's going to start wearing out the most. At the end of the muzzle and at the beginning where you have the lead there. You want to check because it'll be basically a little dull area where it's getting worn. So you want to check and, you know, check the lead for wear, or the throat of the rifle for wear rather. And that's pretty much it. I mean, if you just follow some basic rules, you should get a perfectly good functioning rifle for a fair price. So I hope this has helped, and welcome to the world of military surplus rifles. You're definitely going down a long road. So, enjoy.